Hello there, Johannish Whiskey Lore, and time for another whiskey tasting. And today I am doing a tasting of Carpathian single malt, which is Romania's first single malt. This is from cask number 3202, bottle 94 of 310, a limited release of a Madeira wine single cask. Single cask. Are we going to call that single cask? Yes. Spanish and Portuguese wine cask collection. First fill, bourbon barrel, natural color, non-chill filter, and an interesting color for this whiskey, actually. When I started looking at it, it was like, what does that remind me of? It's almost like a pink champagne kind of a color to this. Really, really interesting. So if you haven't had a chance, I did an interview with Alan Anderson and figured I'd come in and do a tasting of this for those of you who might not want to sit through the entire video and would like to learn a little bit more about this particular whiskey. Now, this is finished in Madeira port casks. And so Madeira is a port wine. I did a Whiskey Lore Stories episode about whiskeys at sea, and talked about really the original at sea spirit was Madeira, and that it comes from a small Portuguese island, and barrels were shipped across the sea and then brought back. One was brought back, and when it was brought back, they were like, wow, this is really good. Maybe we need to age these things at sea. So they did age it at sea for a long time. Became a very popular wine in the United States. In fact, what got me into Madeira, what got me to buy a bottle of Madeira, was I was watching the AMC Washington Spies series, which was fantastic. 4 seasons, very accurate history for the most part. My Canadian friends are not too happy about the villain, who is a hero in Canada, but he's portrayed as a really dark and evil character, sinister. I mean, the actor who played him was absolutely brilliant. In fact, when you hate an actor and then you start to like them because you appreciate how much they make you hate them, it's really interesting to see the power of acting. And I kept thinking this guy could be a fantastic Bond villain, actually, because he does a great job playing John Graves Simcoe. And so if you ever get a chance to watch that series and you love history, it's about the spy network of George Washington. And it's fascinating because it goes into a lot of history, including Benedict Arnold and the rest. And it was really, really well done. Actually, much better than most of what History Channel was putting out at the time. But it does, like I say, go off the rails, especially in the last season. It starts playing up and getting into writing narratives, and there's relationships and all that sort of stuff, which is probably just kind of added in. But have you seen that show? Do you like it? What's your favorite history show, by the way? Is there a history series that you really got into? Because maybe I need to start digging into some other shows. Now, this is a really interesting nose on this, because there's a part of me that wants to say this almost has a meaty character to it. Very minerally. Very, very minerally. There was a hint of pepper in there. I actually get a little note of shoe leather in there, which is interesting. It's not overly fruity on the nose. There is a fruit note there, like a dark berry laying underneath all of these other scents. Like I say, this does not smell like anything that I have smelled before. Cheers. Oh yeah, raisins and figs, but then that minerally note comes in. It's not quite George Dickel Flintstone vitamin, but it is a really interesting note that comes in there. Some a little bit of raspberry, some oak comes in. The oak is more like a fresh wood oak that's coming in on this. Not a lot of bourbon character to this, even though it was aged for a long period of time in a bourbon barrel. I'm not getting a toffee. I'm getting much more of the influence off of that Madeira barrel. And the thing about Madeira is that, and so there's that little nutty character in there. The thing about Madeira is that it's very touchy in terms of when you're trying to age something in a Madeira barrel, you got to pull it out. You have to watch it because it can easily take a whiskey over without too much trouble. So I think this has been done in a way to where it hasn't had enough time to completely take it over. It's just a really interesting color to this whiskey too. This is so different than anything I have ever tasted. I really don't know what to say about it. Part of me is, I use 100% malted barley from Romania. So maybe it's something also in the barley that they're using that gives it this very interesting character. But it's both on the nose and on the palate. And this is one of those whiskeys I keep around just to say, let me challenge you. If I find somebody who says, yeah, I mean, it's almost boring going through all these ways. It's the same flavors, but I'm always picking up this and this and this and this. I pull this one out and go, okay, what is that? Because I want to know, and I can't quite pick out what it is. It's the mystery nose and flavor. It's minerally. That's the best I can describe it, with almost a meaty kind of a character to it. But beyond that, I can't really tell you what it is. So very, very interesting. This is on my intriguing list. And I've got another bottle of Carpathian coming up that I'll be doing a tasting on as well. But anyway, really interesting whiskey. And hope you enjoyed the video. Give me a like if you enjoyed it. And until next time, cheers and Slainte. And here's to history. Gosh, what is that? Definitely a medicinal character. Not medicinal, obviously, mineral. Really interesting.